de nombre María, que se sentó a los pies del Señor para escuchar su palabra. Marta, en cambio, estaba muy ocupada con los muchos quehaceres. En cierto momento se acercó a Jesús y le preguntó: Señor, ¿no se te da nada que mi hermana me deje sola para atender? Dile que me ayude. Pero el Señor le respondió: Marta, Marta, tú te inquietas y te preocupas mucho por las cosas. Sin embargo, pocas cosas son necesarias, o más bien, una sola cosa es necesaria. María escogió la parte mejor, la que no le será quitada. Palabra del Señor.
I would like to tell you a story, and two things that you need to know about stories. Number one, all stories are true. Number two, some of them actually happened. This particular story, as it's told, took place in my hometown of Cleveland, Ohio, a number of years ago, on a fall afternoon, while a young girl about 8 years old was walking with her mom. And she said, the little girl looked up at her mom and said, Mommy, you have the most beautiful hair, and such pretty eyes, and such a wonderful smile. But how come your arms are all wrinkled? The mother looked at her daughter with absolute horror, because she had hoped she could put off from telling her daughter the truth about what had happened until she was at least 12 or 13 years old. But because her daughter had asked the question, the mother felt it was important to honestly tell her. So right there in the middle of the Metro Park, she knelt down on the path and pulled her little girl to her lap. And the mother said, Honey, when you were just about 6 months old, I put you in the crib for an afternoon nap, and I started to get things ready for dinner. I realized that I was missing something that I needed for the dinner, so I ran next door to the neighbor's house. I could not have been gone more than 2 or 3 minutes when something caught fire on the stove. I ran back to the house through the front door, through the living room, through the kitchen, and into the back bedroom where you were sleeping, and I swooped you up in my arms to shield you from the flames, ran back through the kitchen and the living room, and then outside, where 2 rescue squads met us and took us both to the hospital. We were in the hospital for about 3 months. The reason why my arms are all wrinkled is because they were burned in the fire. The little girl looked up at her mom and said, Mommy, you have the most beautiful hair, and you have such pretty eyes, and such a wonderful smile. But do you know what it is that I like about you, what I love about you the most? It's your arms. You see, when you understand the context of a situation, it changes things for us, doesn't it? When you understand the ins and outs of a situation, suddenly you think about things with new eyes and with a new understanding. I suspect that's the case for all of us. Not unlike Martha and Mary, all of us at at different points in our life are standing in the midst of fire. And like Martha, we think we're doing the right thing. We think we're doing what is best. And suddenly a fire ignites, and we need to find some way to be shielded, to find protection. I come to you today on behalf of the children of Coar, the community of Oscar Arnulfo Romero. Coar is an orphanage that was founded by one of my brother priests, Father Ken Myers, from the Diocese of Cleveland, who was working in El Salvador at the time of the Civil War. The orphanage started because children were standing in the midst of fire. Their parents were being killed in the war, and the children had no place else to turn, so they came to the church. It started with one or two, and Father Ken let them sleep in the church. But as the word started to spread, he knew that he needed to do something more. And suddenly, Coar was born. The war is over, but the ravages of war live on. Coar is now about 400 children. Many are no longer orphans, but the children have been abandoned because their families simply cannot afford to provide for their children's needs. Coar has been very successful in providing a solid education, a safe environment, and helping the children grow up and to give back. One of the great success stories of Coar is one of the early children at the orphanage who grew up, went off to high school and then off to college, and returned to become the mayor of his own village. I became acquainted with the children of Coar a number of years ago when we hosted about 40 of the children for the Children's Olympic Games in Cleveland, Ohio. The children from Coar came to Cleveland as part of a soccer team. They were extremely excited. Having never been on an airplane, an escalator, or an elevator, it was a wonderful opportunity. And I was thrilled to be able to host the children, their coaches, and the staff at our seminary. The kids did not do well in the soccer tournament, but that's a homily for another time. They simply enjoyed the opportunity to see new things and to experience another culture. Now I'm going to cut to the chase. My mama did not raise a dummy. You know why I'm here. I'm going to ask 3 things from you. Number 1, I'm asking you to pray for the children of Coar. These children stand in the midst of fire day in and day out. And I believe that the power of prayer, and I believe that when we pray for one another, like Martha's sister Mary, it helps us to choose the better part. Number 2, I'm asking you to stay aware of the needs of the vulnerable children. As the rector of a seminary, I'm an educator. I believe knowledge is power. And when we make a point of being educated and aware of the needs of the most vulnerable in our society, we help them and we help ourselves build a better society. Finally, I'm asking for your financial support.